I feel like now we're just miming.
Yeah, we're voguing,
Totally.
which totally makes sense because this is the Bukowski pod. Woo! Wow. I was
Yeah.
the only one excited about that. That's cool. That's all right.
I was doing a little like like I was doing a little, you
Oh,
know, little
like
snare, little
rim
snare,
job.
little ride beat in the
Little,
back. Yeah, little
little,
jazz for you, light
little,
jazz.
little rim job on the back for you.
Precisely. In the name of Bukowski, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah. Okay. So guess what, everybody? Here we are. All fuck this dog. You just hold its head. Okay. And
Okay. This is the Bukowski pod. Where we don't put that in there. The legs back. It was the legs back for
oh
me.
shit. Yeah.
I think you know I need to put this on YouTube now. I think we need the video now.
Legs back. Legs back. Well, let's do this totally different. Let's plug our YouTubes before the podcast starts. So at least people won't walk away from this without knowing. So go ahead. Plug your YouTube.
Yeah, Book Crusade, the channel where we gallivant the world of all things reading and writing.
I love that elevator pitch. Good job. And then my channel, Matt Wall, where I just try every day to make sure I did not say something that is libelous or slanderous that could get me into any kind of trouble.
Ooh,
Oh.
PR wizard.
Art. Okay, at Matt Wall, where you create every day. Sure. There we
And
go.
you're unapologetically you, which is
Yes.
hate. I hate Matt Wall.
Oh, yes. And I am trying to veer away from that a little bit,
That's
actually.
right. Yeah, you want to like rebrand or something.
Ryan. Yeah.
I'm gonna miss it. It was an era.
Yeah, it's always going to be there. We'll always still be full of self-loathing. I'm trying to get the normies to want to, play with my balls a little bit.
That's
Yeah.
valid.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. We were talking the other day about doing something together, and this is what happened. This thing you're listening to now. So, with that said, let's talk a little bit about why. Should we talk about why this is even important to us or how Bukowski ended up in our lives?
I feel like how I want to even say like what connected Bukowski to us? Why is Matt and Shay doing this? Um, so fun fact, everyone, I
Oh,
met Matt through the YouTube verse, and essentially I've loved Bukowski for years. Loved his work. Had like, well, I've had a tumultuous relationship with it, really. But I was kind of just looking online for specifically his first chapbook, seeing if anyone like just did any like reading on it, reviews or anything. And so while I was searching Bistro Well on YouTube, that's when I found Matt's channel, and I fucking loved it. Joined the Anarchy crew, and now we're pretty much besties. So,
besties.
and we're both Pisces. So that
Yeah.
helps.
Water signs for life, yo.
The
Yeah.
fish be
We
flowing.
we fish, we fish. And I found Shaylin because she found my video and then messaged me. And I said, "Holy shit, how's it going?" And that's kind of
Pretty
how.
much. I would just get drunk and troll the lives.
Yeah. Oh, there was that whole period. Talk about a a window, like a period that we look back fondly on.
Mm,
Shaylin used to get drunk and come to my live streams and talk mad shit and cause all sorts of problems. Then
you
she
know,
grew up and now she causes no one problems and she's all proper and amazing now. Look at
I
that.
learned from a PR wizard, you know.
Yeah. PR wizards. No, but so my Bukowski relationship, are we doing that or are we doing, how do you want to do that?
Yeah, sure. Let's
Yes, sir.
just let her
So
flow.
I got into the funny thing is I remember seeing the news when Bukowski died. I remember like the the news thing in his like beat up face because like that's the thing. Like you see that face and you're like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
and his face came up in the little thing next to the reporter person's head, and it was like, uh, oh, Bukowski died today. So it was what is that, like February
94.
or February? Is that about? I think he died in February.
Yeah.
Something like
So
that. February or March, 94. Or wait, was it April? I don't know. That period.
it was 94 though, in the first
Yeah.
quarter of the year.
Yes. Yes, that is. But I remember seeing his face and thinking, what a fucking mess that dude is. And then them talking about um like the poet laureate of the streets of LA. And I'm like, what the fuck are all these words they're saying? And like, so it was like I was more shocked that he was from where I was and I didn't know who he was. So
Mhm.
that was like kind of my first, this is who this guy is. But I didn't read him until I was much older because um I, so this is probably like 2012. I was posting a bunch of stuff on Amazon, like short stories and stuff.
Yeah.
And people kept saying that my stories reminded them of Bukowski and Chuck Palahniuk, and I hadn't read either one of them.
Oh wow.
I thought I was just like writing stories that sounded like Vonnegut because that's what I was trying to do.
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Was like, oh, I love Kurt Vonnegut, and he writes like we're all idiots, and he's just trying to explain it to us because we're dumb little fucks, like little kids, and he's like an alien from another planet trying to explain human nature. And because obviously I had not been aware of what fucking satire was the whole time of my life as well. Uh, yeah, so I hadn't read either one of them, so I got a short story collection of Paul Nick. I think that's what it was. It was like an ebook that a friend sent me, and I
Mhm.
read a story. I think it's called Guts, where he's like jerking off on the bottom of the pool, and the pool vent makes his asshole come out or something. Yeah, I don't know. Like you might know the story, you might not. Anyway, I was just like, this guy is just being gross for the sake of being gross. Like there's no heart here. There's no nothing. Like there isn't anything here. And as far as Bukowski went, no one I knew had a Bukowski book. So I couldn't borrow anything from anyone. I couldn't get anyone to send me anything. So I ended up just, I went on Google. I'm like, what's the first Bukowski book? And so it's like Post Office. So I'm like, okay, I'll get Post Office. And then I fucking read Post Office and I was like, holy shit.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, that like kind of kicked me in the balls. And then just like the whole thing, like, it began as a mistake, you know? It's like that's how the book opens up, and that's how my relationship with him opened up, you know? And it's pretty legit, you know? And it's been like that ever since. So I read his novels first in publication order, and then I read his short story collections in publication order before I even started reading his poetry. And then I tried to read his poetry in publication order, but that was really hard. So I skipped around. I think I read Love is a
Yeah,
Dog from Hell first.
mm,
Um, that checks out, I think.
dang. That's crazy. That's kind of like the opposite of like how I went through it. So I was like 16 in a creative writing class and my teacher had this tattoo and said, you know, there's a blue bird in my heart that wants to get out. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. Like, what's that?" And she's like, "Oh, it's the Bukowski poem." And I kept, and she was like just talking about like him or whatever. And she's like, "Yeah, check out his stuff." And I went to, I don't know if they were in your area. You remember like Borders bookstores?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was a piece of shit teenager, and being the piece of shit I was, I found the first Bukowski book I saw, which was Bone Palace Ballet. So it's like I went to like almost like post, like after he died, essentially, like works. Um, and I just like stole it and I read it. And I just remember going through like the first part of it and I'm like, Jesus Christ. But like for some reason, I just kept needing to read it. And like when I got like halfway through it, like I started picking some things that I really liked. And it kind of just like went from there. So for like a really long time, I just like tried to like cherry pick whatever books I could find and just like read them, whatever poems out of order. But then I did read the actual like books in order. And yeah, I don't know. It's I have a weird thing with him because it definitely shaped the way that I write from like a narrative sense and like with storytelling. I think that's a big thing for me. But I don't know. I'm just kind of like I never know what I'm gonna get with him whenever I'm opening up like something that I haven't read yet. You know, if I'm gonna like it or like some of it, all of it, half of it, none of it. So it's interesting. He's still a mixed bag even today.
Well, okay, I have so many questions. One, you were in public school in high school, and your teacher got a job teaching kids with a Bukowski tattoo.
It was Bluebird though, in her
It,
defense.
it was. And then she told you, a young impressionable teen, to go get a Bukowski book and that you
I
should
mean,
start reading Bukowski.
I think it's because like my ears were gauged. I had piercings. I was very crass in like my writing because they let us do free writes and stuff. And I did like slam poems. I actually won the slam contest in that class. But she let us like just write like without filters. So like I wrote some pretty fucked up shit for a 16-year-old, and I think that's where she kind of found the connection and then just kind of like let me know about it. Because like why not? You know?
Burying the fucking lead. Oh my God. You won the fucking slam poetry competition at your school?
I mean, it was just like 30 kids. It wasn't like anything like grandiose or whatever.
Like,
It was just in
wait,
that class.
so I beat 30 kids. It's not that big of a deal. I beat 30 kids usually
That
before
didn't
I
like even really like poetry though. You know what I mean? There was probably only like a handful of ones that were like into
got
it. So I mean, it's
that.
nothing like to call home about. But the poem was really funny too. It was like about like infidelity and like misogynism. So it was like I still remember like the like beginning lines because I was really on like a Ginsberg kick then too. So it was like an ode and it was like, oh, chauvinistic tongue, lashing black licorice, blah blah blah. And it was like this whole
Oh,
thing.
of course you won the fucking thing. Listen to you.
It was
Like,
this whole thing. It was like I was so fucking
and
pretentious. And then I
poetic.
had like read Bukowski and it like let out like my inner gutter monster. And now I just kind of Frankenstein both. It's kind of where I'm at.
Okay. I like this. I like this a lot. How long did it take you to find Bluebird?
Well, this was I think like 2008. So I just like looked it up in the library and I found it. I think it was on like the Poetry Foundation site or whatever.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah.
Is it? Yeah, and that's how I found it. And I was like, holy shit, this is beautiful and is like nothing like most of the stuff that he writes.
Bone Palace Ballet isn't a bad book, actually. And it's the last book that Black Sparrow put out that John Martin didn't try to edit the fuck out of.
Mhm.
Everything that came out after that, like the edits are um cringy.
Visibly noticeable. Yeah.
So after his death, Betting on the Muse and Bone Palace Ballet are probably the only ones that are okay that John Martin edited. Anything that he didn't edit are gonna be fine. If you want like what Bukowski actually wrote and not what John Martin wished Bukowski would have written.
Absolutely.
I can't remember the name of that fucking poem. There's one poem that Bukowski called it one thing and then John Martin changed the name of it to like a dolphin or something like that. And it's so fucking
Oh,
like ridiculously um edited that it's shocking. I don't know. Maybe one of these days we'll do like a side by side comparison. And then if you end up getting, I don't know if they still have them up on Lulu, but they have the Bukowski manuscripts, Back to the Machine Gun
uh,
books that someone from the Bukowski forums went to UC Santa Barbara, where they have all of Bukowski's notebooks and papers and shit.
Right.
And they got all the original copies of what Bukowski wrote. And so anything that is, I guess, questionable or something like that, they reprinted so you could see what Bukowski wrote originally. So
Oh
those are
wow.
pretty cool, and they're pretty inexpensive. I think they're only like $7 a piece.
That's awesome. That's crazy.
Yeah, those are really cool.
What kind of I know you said you were there was like a couple of poems like you were thinking about sharing. Like what part of like the Matt Wall legacy did this kind of like cross paths with, I guess?
You, what do you mean? That's kind of interesting and fun.
Like, was it something that was like early stuff that you like read by him that kind of resonated with you, or is it like stuff that like kind of like inspired you to write?
I don't know because this is where it's kind of weird because like I was already writing
Yeah, totally, me too.
for years and like publishing and like making movies, putting out records and shit like that. Way before I found his stuff. But when you hear Bukowski talk about people finding his stuff, a lot of times it seems like Bukowski is the gateway for a lot of people who are writing for the first time. And I feel like that might possibly be true. Like, especially when you hear how many people like, and I feel like I fall into this camp too. Like, Bukowski ruined poetry for me, like there's so many bad poets out there. And I don't mean that in a shitty way because everyone has a favorite poet and everyone is somebody's favorite poet, whatever. But I really felt that I was very well read at one point of my life and that I read a lot of different people, a lot of different periods of poetry, a lot of different shit. And then I found Bukowski and I was just like, why am I reading anybody else? Like,
Oh wow.
you don't need to read anything else. Like this is it. This is as simple as it gets. Um this is the core of what poetry should be. And anything that you do to add to this is just like superfluous. It's just like lipstick on a pig. It's just like why add shit? Like it's not necessary, I guess. I don't know. I feel like I kind of went off on a tangent there that might not have been where we were trying to go. But um, if we are talking about like what
Not
stuck,
like inspiring you to start writing, but stuff that just kind of like maybe moved you and maybe like influenced some of your writing at some point, even if it was just like a
that
single.
would probably be um, Mathematics in the Breath of the Way. Not a poem, but just like his like manifesto shit.
Yeah.
Um, and when you hear in I guess it's more of his short stories talking about
I
writing.
like,
Like when
yeah.
he's talking about writing
Hmm.
without talking about writing. Like in Women he does it a bunch too, where he'll be out on a date with a girl and she'll say something and he'll be like, "Can I write that on my sleeve?" Like so whatever she said like struck a note with him and it was something profound and you're like, "Oh shit, that's fucking good." And it's
Hmm.
always these simple little sayings. And just like he said it in a novel or two and probably in a handful of short stories, but how does he say? Because he says it different ways a couple times, but like someone says, "What's the difference between poetry and prose?" And he says, uh, "Poetry says too much and too little, and prose doesn't say anything and it takes too damn long," or something.
Right.
you know,
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah, I
something
understand.
along those fucking lines. You get what I'm putting down. You're
Yeah, yeah,
picking.
yeah.
And then just the whole idea of um, it's on the back of is that do I have that right here? Actually, I might have it right here. Genius is the ability to fist your mom, or genius could be the ability to say a profound thing in a simple way, or even to say a simple thing in a simpler way. You know, like that's just shit. Like, how do you fucking say anything after that? You know, like,
And he was very like self-aware, which is like something like I appreciate when it comes to like his writing style, because he
uh,
very much like, took accountability and like was like, yes, I do write simple. It's like my gig. That's a
yeah,
part of the whole point. And especially like with him during his time, like learning journalism in college and then like dropping out and everything. That really like set like a way for a style of poetry. I think like some people try to categorize it as like dirty realism
yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that, which I think is like an interesting way to like put it. It's an
Like,
unofficial term, but
I because like that also like has Raymond Carver in there too.
yeah,
And
there's a few
I
others.
think how do I say it? Like we could probably do a whole episode on like the comparisons and differences of Bukowski to Raymond Carver
Mhm.
because he does get lumped in with him in some circles, which is fucking bizarre to me, but you know, it is what it is. But
Like I get it, but yeah.
I also because you're such a Hemingway hoe. Um, what?
Am I? I don't know. I have a another tumultuous relationship with him. It's just like that one particular book just really is like one of my favorite books of all time.
Okay, now before you say what book it is, I want everyone listening at home to try to guess what Shaylin's favorite Hemingway book is. And now you can tell them.
The Old Man and the Sea.
Oh my God. If you picked Old Man in the Sea, pat yourself on the wiener. You did good. But I'm assuming most of you didn't. Okay, but have you read his poetry?
Like some of it.
Okay, because I have only read a couple, and I can't remember why I was doing it. I think I was going to do a video on it, and then I fucked off and didn't do it.
Got it.
But because he had a journalistic background as well. Okay, and
Right.
obviously,
You can
um,
definitely see that in his writing for
yeah,
sure. Yeah.
and his staccato prose is something that Bukowski was a huge fan of early on.
Hmm.
And originally, Hemingway wanted to write poetry, and he started writing poems. And this is back in the Lost Generation. And Ezra Pound, the piece of shit Nazi that he was, um, and I'm just talking about his involvement in the wasteland. I don't even give a shit about his politics. Jokes,
Oh, no.
jokes, jokes. Okay, but Ezra Pound took Hemingway aside and said, "Hey, dude, what are you fucking doing?" And he's like, "What do you mean? Do you like my poem?" And he says, "No, poetry's my game. You fucking write novels." And fucking Ernest fucking Hemingway, the big bad boxing motherfucker. I'm gonna kick everyone's ass, drink this bottle of
Toxic
whiskey,
Masculinity
and then
101.
fuck your girlfriend. Bruh, bruh, bruh. He fucking
Yeah.
said, okay, little tiny Ezra Pound, I'll do anything you say, and then hold your balls while I do it. And I'm just like, are you fucking joking me? That legitimately happened. He fucking like bowed down to fucking Ezra motherfucking Pound.
All people. Ugh.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I'm just curious on if Hem's poetry is as a whole more simple, because I have a feeling it won't be. I feel like he'll want to get purpley with it, but whatever, it's fine.
Yeah.
That's another topic for another day. Is there a poem that reached you and grabbed you and made you want to be a better person?
No. Some of it made me want to write, some of it made me feel seen, I think.
Okay.
Um, let me, because I was like, well, let's just go through Bone Palace because it's been a while, you know? And I think I picked a couple from there.
A lot of his poems that obviously I like, and it's very easy to feel like a better person when you read Bukowski because there's a lot of times where he paints himself to be kind of the motherfucker of the world. So
Right.
you could easily feel better than him at any time. Poems that like speak to me. I love
Yeah.
Piano Player.
Oh,
Um,
me too.
out
Me too. Me too.
yeah, like out of War All the Time, I think is where that's at. Um, that one just kind of breaks my heart, but it also does because and it's kind of masturbatory probably for me to like give a shit, but like for
Mhm.
years I was like performing in like little bars but mainly coffee shops, and I'm like singing all these
Oh
songs
yeah.
about me wanting to kill myself and all this shit while like and I'm pouring my soul out, and like people are just like trying to like talk over me because they just came to a coffee shop to drink a cuppa and have a conversation, you know? Like
Cuppa and a convo.
they don't want to hear some fucking crybaby motherfucker whining in the background, even though he's doing it in a very sexy tone. They don't want to fucking hear that shit. And then like people might clap, and then at the end I just like completely spilled my guts and I feel like shit. And so like now I get to go home or hide in the like just like the whole yeah. So let me
Rather trauma dumping, essentially.
yeah.
It heals and hurts. I thought you were gonna say Dinosauria Wii.
Oh, I fucking love that,
I
dude.
know you do.
Am I gonna cry? I went to the beach on my birthday last year.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh, and apparently October 26th of 2023. Also reading this book at the beach. I think it's in Dangling. Shit.
I think it's in the one, and I have a copy of it. I can run downstairs and get it. The Play the Piano Drunk. I think it's in there. Small little book too.
Part of
But
me that thinks it would be great if all of his books were that size, but
yeah.
because that's what most people's poetry books are. But I think he thinks I know he dug that his books were huge because when oh, The Man at the Piano, yeah, it's in
Yeah.
this. When The Last Night of Earth Poems came out, like before it came out, in his letters he was like bragging about how this is the biggest one yet. It's gonna be so cool because it's so big.
I was just say because septuagenarian stew, that was hard to get through because he was also like weaving in those short stories. That was a tough one for me.
Okay,
That's a tough
so
one.
Rooming House is the next one we're doing in the Bukowski Book Club, and then
Nice.
we're doing Septuagenarian Stew. And I'm like really nervous about doing the stew one. I feel like that's gonna like I don't know if it's gonna alienate people. It's just so weird because it's like his stories are good, but I feel like when you have these really sparse poems and then you go, here is like a giant chunk of text, it's
Yep.
just off-putting.
Yeah. It
Okay.
just fucks slow. Yeah.
Yeah. And also there's a lot of things about Bukowski's poetry that I hate. And as we get further into this, we will talk about it. But there's something in here that I also hate. But like I don't know, it's kind of like the thing he did. I just think it's stupid. But anyway, let's go.
Yes.
The Man at the Piano. Out of Dangling in the let's see, I wrote how to pronounce it.
That's right.
Dangling in the Tunforsha. Tunforsha. It's a tree. Okay. The Man at the Piano. The man at the piano plays a song he didn't write, sings words that aren't his upon a piano he doesn't own. While people at tables eat, drink, and talk, the man at the piano finishes to no applause. Then begins to play a new song he didn't write, begins to sing words that aren't his upon a piano that isn't his, as the people at the tables continue to eat, drink, and talk. When he finishes, to no applause, he announces over the mic that he's going to take a 10-minute break. He goes back to the men's room, enters a toilet booth, bolts the door, sits down, pulls out a joint, lights up. He's glad he's not at the piano. And the people at the tables, eating, drinking, and talking, are glad he isn't there either. This is the way it goes almost everywhere, with everybody and everything. As fiercely in the highlands, the black swan burns. So that's an amazing poem. I love it. But like it could have ended with almost everywhere with everybody and everything.
Mhm.
And then he says, as fiercely in the highlands, the black swan burns. Like, sure. Like, if you want to show the, like, this is where I feel like he's just like going, look, I'm a poet. Look at what I can do. I just wrote this like poem about something that's nothing. And then I'm going to say this thing at the end. And so this is like late 70s, early 80s. He writes that. Once he gets to like, I don't know, like 86, 87, he stops doing that. He doesn't care. And that's what makes me think that it was all for show, you know? Like,
Show and psychology, because I mean, the man definitely for a long time had a lot of imposter syndrome and that need for like acceptance, you
oh,
know. But I think once enough colleges, was calling him up, he was like, fuck it, and then just doing things on his own terms.
yeah. And it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like nice, but there's something pure about when you realize that he kind of stopped giving a fuck
Mm.
and was just him, you know? And I'm not saying that that line's even a bad line. It's not a bad line,
Right.
but it's just
Didn't
like
fit.
one of
So
these
it's
things
colorful,
ain't
but
like the other. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah.
Like let's leverage some like super colorful language at the end.
And honestly, that might be one of the things that I fucking like about him so much
I
that
like it sometimes too.
for
Like I
so
don't
long, but here's the thing, because like I'm liking it in the sense of him being flawed, in the sense that he's so worried about what people think when he acts like he's not worried about what people think, that he feels like he needs to do this thing. And
Mhm.
it's like at that point it's just like, buddy, like do you need a hug? Like come here. Like we believe in you. We think you're legit. You don't need to fucking like suck up to these bastards. You know what I'm saying?
I totally agree with that because like some of it I kind of like just because you're seeing his hand. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's-
And
But
he has very small, dainty hands. And he gets mad when you talk about him.
precisely. Oh shit. Oh God. I found the one. So like what I did last night, I just kind of like went back through Bone Palace because like it's been a minute since I've read it.
Okay.
I just picked out like some and like this one just kind of scared me in the sense of just shit that we're going through like in the world in America right now.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, fuck it. This one kind of hits for me currently, so I figured I'd share it. It's Bone Palace, a note on the masses. Private hells made public often puzzle the readers. They wonder how this one or that one can endure and continue. Well, there's a secret. Don't expect too much of humanity. They've been practicing hatred for centuries. It's passed down, refined, and perfected. Oh, they have become very good at that. Their hatred blossom with even more frequent page turn regularity. Our public hell creates a private hell, and there is no hell except on earth. Once you accept this premise, you will be free to exist on your own terms, and you will never know loneliness, and death will be as nothing. Consider yourself blessed in the dark,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
Like some of this was just kind of cryptic to read, just like with just everything going on right now. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
I'm
I
like,
don't want to say the motherfucker's a prophet, but if you read some of his shit, like, I mean, like Dinosauria We on top of it,
oh yeah,
like
totally.
so much of his shit is so, but so like I'm always trying to think, I'm like, okay, so what the fuck was happening in the world during most of this shit? And you got to realize, like, he was writing stuff like World War II happened, and like
Mhm.
a bunch of people he knew died. Korea
Right.
happened, Vietnam happened. All these kids are being like shipped away and then coming back in little boxes. The Cuban Missile Crisis happened. The whole deal, like everyone, especially people in Southern California, because like
Hmm.
my grandfather, like one of the reasons why I love Bukowski so much is that he reminds me of my grandfather. He dressed like my grandfather. He used a lot of the same words that my grandfather would use. My grandfather worked at Todd Shipyard down at the harbor, and it's just like there's so many like things about like Bukowski that like feel like home, feel like
Hmm.
nostalgia and childhood to me. So there's that. But like the whole idea, like we don't know this like they did, but like the
Right.
bomb, being afraid of the bomb, that was a huge fucking thing. Like it, especially in Southern California because of all the Navy bases and all the military shit. A lot of
Hmm.
people thought that at any time a bomb could be dropped on LA and just mushroom cloud the fuck out of this place.
Yeah.
And when my mom was a kid, they had like nuclear bomb drills. Like we had earthquake drills, and like you probably had hurricane drills or tornado drills or whatever the fuck drill you have at your school when you were
Yeah.
like, I don't know what kind of drills did you have?
We had earthquakes and school shooter ones.
Oh,
So
school shooter drills. That's fun. Yeah, I
90s.
like
Yep.
like when I was in high school, there was just that one time it happened. And then it was like, oh, that was a weird anomaly. And then everyone's like, oh, I could do that. And then by that time I was out of school, so it was fine. So
Yeah.
yeah, Columbine happened while I was in school though, so that was fun. All through that period, like Bukowski, like there's so many, like even in You Get So Alone, I read a poem um, on the video that I posted today for those of you who are in this timeline with us right now, where Bukowski says, like, I just slept with the um, hottest woman I've ever slept with, and then walked into the bathroom and masturbated. A man like that can't be killed by the bomb. Like the bomb was
Right.
always a fucking thing. And then he has that poem about like, give me a little balm, like one I could have in the bathtub and wash. And,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
like the balm was a big fucking thing. So it's just hard. I mean, maybe we're getting to that point now, but it's hard to realize that every single person who was alive had to either think that they were going to get drafted and killed in a war that they didn't believe in, or a bomb was going to be dropped on them and everything was meaningless.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we as a society, because of social media, really think way too much of ourselves, that nothing like that could ever happen to us, Karen. Like, know who the fuck I am? Like, you can't drop bombs on my cities, like, um, so until we get to that point where people are terrified of the things that could happen, which I think we're on track for, um, like it's gonna seem basically what I'm trying to say is each day that goes by, I think we're going to get closer and closer to Bukowski sounding like an actual fucking prophet. Because I think
Which is crazy to say.
I know.
But I mean, a lot of this stuff, I mean, especially like when I was just reading this last night towards like, I would say like the second half. of the book, I was like, oh my God, like just too much of it's lining up. And kind of to like touch on the point that you were talking about as well, it's like when you have so much media and stuff in your face and all these different trends and like, you know, consumerism, I think people are just so quick and easy to like disassociate with what's actually happening. And yeah, I think eventually it's just gonna hit them in the face, you know.
For real.
Yeah. Fun stuff.
Wow.
I'm very happy, sunshiny podcast.
Yeah.
Oh, totally an episode we should just do just because of happiness sunshine just popped in my head. Um, it'd be fun to do like a color theory thing with Bukowski. Because think about it, he talks about yellow so fucking much, but in so many ways.
Okay.
Like he'll talk about death with yellow, but it'll be like pale yellow. But then he'll talk about like maybe love or fucking, and then he'll be using yellow again.
So that's
We
another.
are not here to we will definitely expose the girls as well. You know what I mean? This is an accountability podcast. We are by no means Bukowski brown nosers.
No, no, no. Because, like, we're going to talk about how I think he's not as good of a writer as I want him to be. And we're going to talk about how I think he's a closeted homosexual. And we're going to talk about how I
Yes.
think he lied about almost all of his myth.
Oh,
And
totally.
yeah, for real. And yeah, there's also, but it's whatever. It's whatever, you know? But yeah, he was a piece of shit and a coward. And, um, he lets you see his cowardice a lot more than I think he even realized he was letting us see.
Great.
So, he wasn't that strict with that bluebird.
No,
But yeah. So what do you think of them apples?
them apples, yellow.
Okay. So, that's probably gonna do it for this episode. So how do people get in touch with us?
Um,
Jesus
I-
Christ. You had one
well,
fucking job.
no, because I was gonna say no, because listen, yes, go ahead and giggle. But I
Not
have an email problem. Oh my God. I like that's like my weird type A OCD thing. Like I don't like having um like unread emails. Like I'll
Shaylynn.
delete it something. No, I heard it. I heard it on the live stream. Oh my God.
Is that
I'm
is that does that send you into a tizzy?
a little bit.
Okay.
It's not my inbox, so
Yeah, just 28,000 plus. It's okay.
Mm,
Not a big deal. Wow. The disdain on your face right now. That's fucking weird.
28,000.
You- you-
That's hefty. She's hefty.
huh? She's not hefty, she's your brother. How's that go? I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know what the hell you're
There's
referencing.
that
Funny.
song. He's not heavy, he's my brother.
Oh, heavy. I thought you said hefty.
I did because you said
Oh, I
hefty.
see, I see, I see.
Okay, let's think of a couple things. First off, do you want to read books alongside the Bukowski Book Club that I'm already doing anyway? Like, should that be something we do on the podcast too?
I think actually to just even just drive more traffic, like we could do an episode on that book, but not have nearly as much content. And then the segue would be like, hey, join the crew if you want the full.
Yeah. Well, this is what I was thinking because I was thinking we should probably break it down like this, where we do a like Bukowski book video or podcast, and then the next week do something on like maybe a reading of his, like where we listen to
Love
uh
that. I love his live readings. They're so
yeah,
good.
and like we talk about that. Then we could do one where we psychoanalyze something about him, and then do one where we
Talk
talk.
about the lore with like people that he's like hung out with and stuff like that.
I was gonna say like either like people he's hung out with or talk about their work. Okay, so if you want to know anything, you could just if you have any questions or anything like that, you could just drop us an email over at should I check BukowskiPod at Gmail just to see if that's a thing real quick? Yeah, fuck it. Let's try it. Let me create my own Gmail address. Let's see. Bukowski pod at Gmail. Is that a thing? Oh my God. I can't believe it. No one has fucking taken that before, dude. How is this real? Password. Okay, this is gonna be the password, okay? Are you ready? Bukowski pod. Oh shit, I spelled Bukowski wrong. No, I'm just kidding. Is that right? I can't even see. Bukowski pod at Gmail. Okay, cool. So if you have anything you want to say and you want to drop us a line, you just go to bukowskipod at gmail.com and say your fucking piece, you piece of shit. And then yeah, and if you could send all nudes that you want to send to Shaylin to
Oh.
bukowskipod at gmail.com and I will look at them.
Putting for Matt Wall in the subject line. Very important for Matt Wall.
And I will look and judge to see if your purple onion is worth showing to Shaylin. That was disgusting. This was a horrible idea.
Visceral, visceral. The purple onion of it all. That should be our logo. It's just a purple onion.
Ew.
Uh,
Yeah.
a literal purple onion though. And yeah, if you guys have anything that you want us to cover, we're gonna leave like no stone unturned with this. Definitely reach out to us, whether it be an interview he's done or a publication. We're all over it.
If you know anything about the Bukowski database or you are working on it to start a new one, let me know because I would love to get involved in helping out any way that I can. I feel like there's something we're missing.
Call to action, contact information.
Did we call to action? Did we give someone a call to action? What do we
Well,
want?
to email us, I guess. But I guess we want to us.
Yeah,
I guess
like
we
this
want us to
fucking
listen. I guess.
podcast. Share it to your fucking friends, you piece of shit. Like, don't you want people to know about this? Don't you want us to like feel like people out there care so we continue to do this? God,
Spread
don't
the
be
gospel.
selfish. Like you awful person. Just do the right thing. Ugh. All right. I think that works, right? People
Yeah,
should feel really warm and fuzzy now.
definitely.
And if you're not masturbating in your car, you're doing it wrong.
Or in the bushes if you're Bukowski.
Yeah.
But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Matt and Shay is over and out.
Like, I better end this because he's going to keep talking and saying horrible shit.
We're so fucking dumb. But I appreciate it spiritually.
Okay. Hey, tight assholes all around. Let's go. Keep them tight.
Over and out. I just
All right. Okay. Bye. For real. Bye.
Yeah. Peace out. Over and out.
Oh,
Okay, bye.
why do you keep saying over and out?
I think it's funny and I can't stop laughing
Roger
and I'm
Boca.
manic right now.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
All right. See ya,
Over and
man.
out. Okay.